really worked for me. Just unmute yourself and let us know. Anybody? No. Go ahead, Janice.
I'm really been interested in trying to learn a lot. One thing was using the clock and alarm on my phone.
Okay. How do you do that? You like set timers for yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Do you have any? Go ahead.
It did let me know the good and the bad of what I was doing, because I was setting an alarm at a certain time, but I really wasn't thinking it out. And the time I set was too late in the day. So it was overlapping with other things I needed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw I needed to reset the timer for earlier in the day, so it wouldn't overlap.
So working better now?
Well, I'm just starting that.
Okay. All right. Good. Good.
One of the things I've done is that, of course, watching television is a huge time waste, but there are certain programs that are beneficial, especially if you're looking for certain trends. And what I've gone to is I never watch a program live. I just DVR it and then speed through the commercials.
Right.
So it makes me feel less guilty when you're looking at something.
I'm with you. And then if you ever find yourself watching a live show, you get really frustrated because you have to watch the commercials because you've gotten so trained to not having to watch commercials. It's kind of a funny dynamic. Yeah, being able to record and watch on demand is a good time saver rather than having to reschedule your time around somebody else's schedule. Good. Shiraz, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Yes.
Good, good. Okay, so we've all got some different things we've learned along the way. Time's made up of lots of numbers. This is my favorite time number. It's the number of hours we have in a week. And every week we're gifted 168 hours. Time's an interesting resource because it's the one thing everybody has the same amount of. Nobody has more or less. You can't buy it, sell it, trade it, save it, store it, or anything. It just comes and goes, and either you used it well or you didn't. And every week we get another chance at doing the 168 well. And so I want the rest of my life to be spent well. And it doesn't mean I have to be working all of the time, but I don't want to be wasting my time either. And so there are things that I want to do and accomplish and experience. And to do that, I need to be a good manager of these 168 hours. The good thing about time is it seems to feel like it resets. Seasons are a great thing, right? It's springtime now around much of the US, and some of you are coming out of bad weather or cold weather, and it's warming up and flowers are blooming or trees are blooming and budding. That seasonal effect gives us hope and gives us a sense of refreshing and moving forward. I've often thought how painful it would be if we didn't have months in our calendar, if it was just one big year. Like I'd say, Steve, when's your birthday? And he'd say 210, because it'd be like the 210th day. You wouldn't have to say a month. It's just because their birthday's on 1 all the way up to 365, and that was just it. That'd be kind of boring. It would really be tough. So the months and the increments of time really do help us a little bit, put things into perspective and measure. But it's a fascinating thing, time, because it's the one resource everybody has the same amount of. Some seem to do very well with it. Some seem to be very wasteful with it. If you, like me, you've had nights where you've been very busy and you've laid down in bed and you looked at the ceiling and you said, I was really busy today, but I don't feel like I got anything done. That's not really the kind of day I want. I want days where I don't mind being busy, but that busyness should turn into productivity or something that's of meaning, not just crazy busyness, right? So I think the older we get, the more we reflect on how we use our time, and it's more valuable as we understand it. I have this other theory. It seems like as we get older, time seems to go faster. There's the perception that it's moving a lot faster. We know it's not, but it seems like it is. My theory is that when you're younger, everything every day is fairly new. You're taking on new experiences all the time, and you're kind of in awe about all of that. And the older you get, there's less newness, there's more sameness, and so things tend to speed up. I don't have any scientific proof to my theory. It's just my opinion on that, but It seems to make sense. All right. So we're going to talk about these 4 different categories as it relates to time management, your values and priorities, because I think it all starts right there. I can't set those for you. Only you can set those for yourself. Sadly, most people have lived most of their life fulfilling somebody else's values and priorities. And I want to encourage you to kind of think about this for yourself. Then we'll talk about distractions, scheduling, and then decision making. All right, let's dig into each one of these. When I talk about values and priorities, these are the things that are most important to you at this time. The idea of a priority is that something has value over something else at that time. If everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority, right? You can't have everything be a priority. That defeats the purpose of what priorities mean. And what clearly identifying your values and priorities does is it allows you to know what you're going to say yes to and what you're going to say no to at that given time. We also know that values and priorities shift over time, and they can even change throughout the day. What was very important to us in our 20s may not be that important to us now. What's important to us today may not be that important to us in a couple of years. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you know what they are so that you protect them, so that you are freeing yourself up to be able to live out those values and priorities. Otherwise, you're living somebody else's values and priorities because you just get pulled along and sucked into what everybody else wants you to do. And you're not being true to what your values and priorities are. When we were younger, we often thought sleep and rest was overrated. We just wanted to spend more of our day awake doing stuff, and we didn't want to waste time sleeping. But as we get older, we know how important that is to rejuvenation and recovery, especially in our mind. Exercise was easier when we were younger and we didn't need it as much. As we get older, it gets harder, but we need to do more of it. It's kind of a paradox there as well. But that should be some priority, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to be good for anything else. Our relationships, we know the most important relationships in our life take time and attention. They don't do well on autopilot. They tend to self-destruct if they're left alone. Friends and friends can be the same thing. Work, some of you are still working, some of you are not. You're retired. You might have hobbies that are important: traveling, entertainment, cleaning, projects. All of these things could be different. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are typical things that should be a value or priority to you. I'll give you an example of how to use, set and live by a priority. Let's assume that you want to exercise 3 times a week. You want to go for a walk every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you schedule with yourself Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to go for a walk at 9 a.m. And it's going to be a 15-minute walk. So you put it on your calendar, and your friend calls you up and says, hey, let's go have coffee next Wednesday at 9 o'clock. What do? Well, if your friend is a bigger priority than your exercise, then you tell your friend, okay, and you blow off the exercise for yourself. But to choose exercise over your friend does not mean your exercise is more important than your friend. It just means that at that time slot, the priority is your exercise. Because you know if you don't keep that time, you'll get out of the habit of doing it and you'll stop exercising